Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and I'm going to do my recap of 2024 goals as well as my goals going into 2025. So these are all reading related. So I don't make big other goals because, those just kind of fly off and it doesn't really work. So I usually try to pick stuff that's pretty easy to accomplish. I mean, I don't always make it, but at least I kind of strive towards those, and it really helps. And last year I was really easy on myself, and I think this year I'm going to be kind of the same way. Just make a few little changes to what I'm doing for my goals, but really overall they're kind of the same, and some of them, not all of them. So I do have my goals in my reading journal. I will have a video later about a flip through of this one, as well as the one I'm using, and some other journal stuff that I'm going to do in going forward. We'll see how that goes, but that's a video for later in January. Right now we're gonna just talk about the goals for 2024. So my first goal was to read 100 books on Goodreads. So or on Storygraph. I do both of those. So because there's certain things I like about both platforms. So I definitely read over 100 books. I actually read 376 individual titles. I did reread a lot this year. I almost always, it's about a third of, quarter to a third of my reading. This year is a little bit over that, like a little bit over a third. So I know that's why I got such a high number. I read a lot of manga that I didn't expect to reread. So, I mean, I'd read other things that were new to me, but there was a lot. I reread a lot of series, which was really fantastic. I really enjoyed it. So I don't regret any of that, but that's why my number is so high. But I at least read over, 240 new books to me of all lengths and, different kinds of genres. So I still think I did pretty good. So anyway, that goal was achieved. So goal number 2 was to read 100 pages per day on average per month. So I've been tracking my reading for years, and my goal for many years was 50 pages a day, every day in a month on average. And again, I always figure that out. I'm way into the 100, 200 per day average, just due to the fact that I am able to listen to audiobooks sometimes at work, not always, once in a while. And I do a lot, when I in my car, I listen to a lot. And then and again, I read a lot on my after hours. So I do a lot of reading. I definitely hit this goal. I don't know what the actual percentage is, but because I read 109,000 pages, I think I did okay. So we'll go with that. Goal number 3 was to cull my books June and December. So every 6 months I go through my books and I do a cull, and then I try to go and sell them or donate them. So I did it in June. I got rid of quite a few, and then I have a lot right now to take, because I did it in December, and then I also, when I quit the Read What You Own, I unhauled a lot of books. So I have a lot to take back. I just haven't got there yet because of the holidays and rain, because I didn't want to take my books when it was a really rainy day, and I could have done it, but I didn't want to get them wet. So anyway, I have a lot of books to get out of the house. They're all in bags ready to go. So I did do my cull both times. This cull is a little bigger than the last one because I had a lot of books. Because number 4 was Read What You Own, limit library use, and use Libby for physical books on TBR. So at the time that I wrote this, I was in the Read What You Own, and I was really trying not to buy books, but I also knew that that wouldn't last long, which it didn't, and that I wanted to make sure that I'm not just getting so many books from the library that I keep getting a stack and then I don't read them. But I'm also, or I prioritize those over the books that I have that are here that I've already paid money for. And so I did do better on that. I had fluctuations where I had only 1 or 2 library books, and then there was times where I had up to 10. And most of the time I was not that high. Usually I was pretty much in the 4 to 5 range of books or audiobooks out from on Libby. So And again, there's certain parts during the year where I would go in and cancel all the holds that I had, or a lot of them, and I'd be like, I don't need that right now. I don't need that right now. If it came in right now, I wouldn't read it. So I got rid of, I tried to limit stuff. I'm still working on that. I'd like to say I was mostly successful in that, but it wasn't perfect. So this year we're gonna try to keep it down. We'll see what happens. I didn't put that as, I don't think I put that as a goal this year, but I am going to try to still limit that. Because again, I love my library. I love the access to all that stuff. I love the fact that Libby makes it easy to get audiobooks for some books that are on my shelf that I'm having trouble physically reading, that sometimes the audiobook helps. But I don't need to be bringing in books when I have so many books on my shelf that I can physically read. So anyway, number 5 is, this is what I completely failed at, was pull at least one book per month from the Cart of Shame. So my Cart of Shame had, I don't know how many it had. It had quite a few books on it, and it had to do with books that I had started and then abandoned. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 10, 11, 12. So I had like 22 books on there at the start of the year. Now I have reduced it, but not by much. So I actually read five books that were on the Cart of Shame that I had from 2023, that at the end of the year. I've read 5 of those books. So again, I have a spread, which I'll show, but I also DNF'd 6. So there are 6 books that I just decided I am not going back to. This is not something I'm ever going to go back to, or else I started it again or tried to get back into it and I didn't like it. And I just decided that's not worth it. I don't want it. So I got, again, that's 11 books that I moved off, but then I've added like 4 or 5 this year that are books that I've started that I've abandoned. So yeah, there's a fluctuation, but I did, my book cart isn't quite, my Cart of Shame is not quite as big as it was, but I could still do better. Again, this is not something I have a goal for this year, but I do have maybe a vlog idea that I might do with the Cart of Shame stuff. So we'll see. Anyway, so yeah, we'll say that one for sure I didn't get. Because, I mean, I did get off 11. So technically I almost did 12. I was so close. Anyway, but it still doesn't come out as to one a month because I did them in different times. Anyway. There. So number 6, the final one for 2024, was to reread and finish The Last King of Oxnard by Tad Williams, which I definitely did. I got back into that. I reread the 2 books and a novella that I had read previously, and then I read the last 2 books because the 4th book came out this year, and that was so amazing. I just adored that. And then the second part to number 6 was to start and read at least 2 books from the Stormlight Archive, which I did not do. I did finish The Way of Kings, which I'm really glad I did. It just took me all year to finish that. And I have not started Words of Radiance yet. So anyway, so that one's like a half. So I would say I did 3/4 of this one. So not great, but I still think overall my reading goals are usually pretty easy. Like the first 3 are ones I do every year. That's not, I mean, this year I'm not gonna, I didn't do one of them, but those 3 are usually been the primary ones. And then I just kind of did the other ones. So anyway, that was 2024. So I would say overall the year, as I said, I read a lot. But I also, as I said, in December, I kind of had a crisis of the way my reading was going and things that were happening. And I think I did the Read What You Own challenge again starting in November. And I lasted about a month and a week, maybe a week and a half, I don't know, before I just cracked. And I could not buy books and also read what I had on my shelf. It was a really weird feeling. I mean, I'm glad I stopped it. I knew from a young age that book bans don't work for me. Book buying bans have never worked. Even when I was broke, I had to find a way to get money for books because that was, I would just panic. Like, and then I'd panic buy, which means then I would go into debt. I'm not in that position now. I am very much in a financial position that I could buy a lot more books than I buy now. But I really want to save that money for my vacations and some other things around the house. So I don't want to go, like, I don't want to do it. So anyway, read what you own. I'm glad for all you people out there who actually do it to how that goes. But you know what? I'm going to just change it to work for me going forward, which means there has to be some buy in there. I have to be able to buy books. Anyway, so my goals for 2025, again, some of these are very similar. Number one is to read 100 books and put them on Storygraph and Goodreads. So I don't have any issue with this. If I don't make 100 books, I don't make 100 books. I'm not worried about the number. I know a lot of people get hung up on that and just put one just so they don't have to think about it. But I think I'm going to read at least 100 books. I think I read enough that that's going to happen. And again, I count, I didn't used to, but as I said, the years have gone by and I just now count everything that I read, either rereads or, you know, stuff and manga and everything. So I think it's pretty easy. I'm going to hit 100 probably early in the year and then I won't think about it again. But that's just until the end of the year. So, that's pretty typical. And then I did take out my reading per day goal because I don't feel I need that anymore. So my second goal is the Cole books, June and December. So again, I will be on that come June. I will go through my books again and get rid of all the books over the last 6 months that I've wanted to get rid of, as well as look through my books and look at series and authors if their books I still want to keep on my shelf and I do want to read them or reread them in the future. Like I'll make some decisions on those. So I'm going to keep my culling because I need that in order to make space for the new books that I buy. And then number 3, I just wrote down read, own books as much as possible. So again, I'm not putting in a numeric thing. This is not one where maybe at the end of the year, I might be like, well, you know, did I do it? Did I not? I think what I'm going to keep track of how many books I've actually read off my shelf. Now I've been doing that, but my method hasn't been working. That I kind of lost track of it halfway through the year. I thought I was doing it and then my numbers got all mixed up in my head and it didn't work out. So I'm going to try a different method going forward. And I really want to be reading, most of the books that I read are off my shelf. If there is a physical book to it, it's coming off my shelf. If I get an audiobook from the library, it's usually to help me get a book off my shelf. Now, there's going to be a couple of things like from the library that I'm going to read. There's some manga. I get a lot of my manga nowadays from the library because I don't want to buy it. So I know that like there's one series I'm going to start here in a couple days that I got the first 8 volumes out from the library. And I think there's going to be 16 or more volumes altogether. So, you know, I might, those ones are all going to come from the library, but that's saving me money there. But it's not the same. I still want to focus more on the novels coming off my shelf are going to mostly be physically owned off my shelf, but the manga and a graphic novel series that I want to read more of. I have one more book that I physically own, and then there's like 15 volumes, maybe more, I don't even know, that I'm going to try to get from the library. So there's like things I will get from the library, but mostly, and again, those are series that I want to continue, but I don't want to buy. But mostly I want to work on books that are coming off my shelf. Does that make sense? I don't know. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. As I said, manga and graphic novels, I assume I'll get more from the library physically. And then most of my other stuff from the library will be Libby. That'll be helping me get physical books off my physical TBR. I think that's how I'm going to go with that. We'll see how that goes. Number 4 is I want to read my pre-orders. So this is where this last 2 years, I did better about tracking what pre-orders came into my house and which ones I read. And I'm about 50%, which is not good. So this year I want to do a lot better at, if I pre-order a book, I want to make sure I'm reading it within the next couple months. Now, I'm not going to give myself it has to be within 60 days of coming into my house. Because as soon as you put a limit on me, like on something like that on me, it just, I will say no. You don't direct me that closely, because I am pretty much a mood reader. But if I tell myself that, within this year, I need to read those pre-orders that I get, especially in series that I'm continuing. So my pre-orders are changing this year. Like I'm going to try to, there's only a few pre-orders I've already have that are first books in series. They're usually by authors I already know. But I'm not going to pre-order new to me authors as much this year. I think I'm going to back off on that and really focus on the series I'm in the middle of or authors I've read from before that is a new book in their series, next book, and keep my pre-orders a little bit lower than normal than I have in the past, because I'm a huge pre-order. I look at the calendar, like these are certain books. I know these authors are having books. I want those books. So I pre-order them so I don't have to think about it. But I want to read them this year. Like the last couple of years, I did better. I'm up to 50% and maybe a little bit higher this year. I did pretty good this year. But there was a couple of books that I just never got to, and I pre-ordered them and I still haven't read them yet. And, I want to work on reading those this year. So anyway, that's, kind of a new like official goal. So I want my percentage, like, I don't know if I want what percentage I want. I'm going to say I have to read at least 75% of my pre-orders. Let's just make me put a number down. That hurts. Yeah, we'll say I have to read at least 75% of the pre-orders in 2025. I have a book comes into my house on a pre-order that I've, done that. I have to read 75% of the books by the end of the year. We'll see how that goes, because maybe December might be all reading pre-orders by the end, but I'm going to do that. So anyway, and then number 5 is something I'm going to try to change up with my TBRs. Usually I do kind of a pile of possibilities or what I think I'm going to read, because I'm very much a mood reader. I usually read about half my TBR that I put up online or on here, because I pick up other things. Things come in, or I just decide to read that. And I'm going to try to, but I want to try to hit a couple of things every month. Again, I've been noticing that my reading I'm a very much a fantasy reader in all different aspects, and that is and romance and like all that kind of stuff. Like I read that without even worrying about, like I have plenty of that. But I have several other genres that I am just neglecting. And this year I'm going to focus on nonfiction, translated works, and classics. So I own so many classics. I own so much nonfiction, and I own a lot of translated fiction. So this year I want to, I haven't bought as much of all those this last year or two, but I've accumulated over the years. And so I have full bookshelves above all those. I mean, translated fiction is only like 3 shelves, but it's still densely packed. And I just bought a whole bunch of other ones in December, and I do want to read them. So going forward for this goal, I want to read at least one classic, either modern or more ancient than that, So any kind of classic that I think I mostly say classics are before I was born, kind of like if it was older than me, then, and I'm 50. So anything that's older than that, I would consider a modern classic up to, and then I said Victorian period is where, and past is like a normal classic to me. And then there's ancient classics too. I do have quite a few of those too. But the point is I want to read at least one. It doesn't have to be a long one, and it could be a short one, or I can read a long one over a couple months. I just want to be reading one sometime within the month. Nonfiction, same thing. I have so much nonfiction. I have a lot of nature nonfiction. I have a lot of historical biographies. I want to continue my presidential reads of, reading things from U.S. Presidents. I'm still back. I've only done 3 presidents, and I want to read Alexander Hamilton next before I move on to Madison. I just need to make some progress in that. So I want to, but I have a lot of nature books. I have a lot of biographies or things on different types of jobs that I don't know anything about. I have a lot of crime ones too. So there's like a lot of nonfiction I want to get to. And I have been really, really neglecting it over the last 2 years for sure. And maybe even farther back than that. And I just need to make sure I read at least one nonfiction a month. Again, I'm hoping to read more than that, but this again is just one of each of these every month. And then translated fictions, again, I'm not counting manga in this or graphic novels or anything like that. This is novels. I need to read, and again, if I find a nonfiction translated, that'll count for both, but I don't have very much of that. I have a few, but not too many. But mostly I want to read translated novels, and I have crime novels, and I have feel-good novels and magical realism, and I have some just normal contemporary novels, and I have so much and I want to read a lot of it this year. I'm not sure I'm going to make a dent in my collection, but I would like to at least read, again, at least one translated work a month. So that's kind of where I'm going. And again, I did that for my January TBR. I did mention a couple that I'm going to read. I mean, again, I'm hoping to read more than what I mentioned in there, because actually I got one that was a translated and a modern classic, and but I have so many books I want to read, so we'll see how that goes. But that's I always want to try to read more than one a month, but I miss classics because I haven't taken the time, and again, that's why I'm not upping my reading goal. That's not, I feel like I need to take more time with some bigger books. And I think what I'm going to do is focus on the classics, on some of those big nonfiction books I have. And then, as I said, I have a lot of translated works that I'd like to get through that are calling to me. So anyway, this year is going to be the year of trying to get back to where I was more eclectic in my reading. I just feel I've read not the same things, but like a lot of the same variation with a lot of fantasy and romance, and I want to move into a lot of the other stuff that I like to read. Sorry. I would love to get mysteries more in there too, but I think that's only going to go be in translated. I don't think I'm going to be able to add that back in. Historical fiction is also another one where I'm not ready to make that a priority. Maybe mystery and historical fiction will be next year. We will see. And then number 6 is I'm going to finish doing my book inventory. So I put this on here kind of as a late edition because I am in the middle of cataloging all the books I own. I've only done the office here, which has 7 bookcases. And again, about 4 shelves don't count. And the carts that I have in here. I have a cart with my, all my first books in urban fantasy, paranormal romance series, and then my cart of shame is in here too. I have almost 1,900 books in this room alone. I have not calculated yet how many of those are read. A lot of them are read. Oh, I'm having trouble here. Sorry, I must have inhaled something. Anyway, so there's a lot of books that I have a lot of books in this room that I have read. I have a lot of them I have not read. And I haven't even gone out of this room yet. So I still have my TBR shelves out in the living room and all my classics out there and my nonfiction. And then I have in my guest bedroom, I have all my horror, mystery, and then historical fiction. There's a lot. I have a lot still to do. And then upstairs I have all my manga, and I have some other books that I have up there. A lot of my graphic novels, and yeah, I have a lot of stuff everywhere. So I'm in the middle, like I'm not even in the middle, like I've only done this room. And I already have 1,900 books on my spreadsheet. So we will see what happens when I get to the end. I don't have to worry about the fact I have a library. Like this is my library room, which I call my library office. But I knew that already because a couple years ago I did a count, but I only counted what books I had not read. So I already knew I had over, 2,000 books. because I didn't have an exact number. Yeah, we're going to find out what that is when we get done. So number 6 is to finish my book inventory. I don't think I'm going to get done until a couple months. It takes a long time, and I only do it during the weekends now. I'm hoping to get a few shelves done every Saturday and Sunday when I have time. So it's going to take a long time to get that actual number. And again, I'll be bringing books in and I will be sending books out. So I'm still going to try to track that, as in when, like right now, I have all the books that I just did a book haul on, which you will have seen the day before. And those books I put on my spreadsheet because they were in this room, so they counted. So now I will put down locations, and I've named my shelves with, some of the locations. And so some will go onto my TBR shelves out front where I see them, so I read them right away. Others are going to be in here. I've already made space for them. And some of them, I don't know where I'm putting them yet, so I got to find space and find a spot home for them. So, as I said, it's going to be a process. It's not something I can show because all I'm doing is pulling books off the shelf, and then I am putting the data into my spreadsheet and then putting the books back. I am culling as I go. I did cull, well, when I did this room, because I'd already done the cull, for December in 2024, I had already done that. So I got rid of quite a few books for that. But I took out another 24 books. And I think 8 of them I had read, and the other ones were all I'm not going to read. And I just made decisions on books. A lot of them were used books that I got on a whim, and I just never think I'm going to go back and read those, And I said, again, the whole point of doing this book inventory and also reading my pre-orders and trying to read more of what I own is I will never, like, the TBR 0 thing scares the crap out of me. I don't know how people could think they can only have 2 or 3 to 20 books on their shelf unread. That would just give me like a panic attack. And I don't think it's because I read quite a bit. I think it really is just that is too limiting of a choice for me. But I do want to get to the point where when books are coming in, especially pre-orders, that I am picking those books up and not thinking, oh, I can't read that yet because, I have all these, I do have all these other books, but I'm going to I want to like go back and forth. I want to do a lot of backlists. Backlist is going to be mostly this year. I think, again, I'm going to do some pre-orders, but they're going to be my favorite authors and series that I'm continuing in. I'm going to try to stay away from, I don't think I'm going to do as big of, a lot of new releases unless, it's something I really want. There's certain new ones that are debut novels that I want to pick up, but I'm just going to wait. I don't need them right away. I can just wait. And I'm definitely not picking up any author in hardback that I have not read from before. Again, I do not like hardbacks that much. Again, I picked up a couple more this year than I ever have in my life. And I'm finding like, I don't like it. I think I'm just going to wait for paperbacks, because that's what I've always read, mostly paperbacks. So that was a whole nother tangent. Anyway, point is that I'm hoping with this year's goals, is more focusing on reading what I own, and then what I do bring in, I try to read. Now, again, I'm not putting a number value on books that I buy around my pre-orders because that would be scary. And I see people do that, like on their TBR stuff or their, yearly goals, and I just go, ouch. I don't think I can do that. I think I'm going to stick with pre-orders this year and see how that goes to help me manage my pre-orders and make sure that I'm only bringing in pre-orders that I know I'm going to read, and I'm going to read them this year. So we'll stick with that. Anyway, so that was probably a real big ramble, and I don't know if that made any sense. I'll watch it back and see what happens. But anyway, have you guys done goals for 2025? How did you do in 2024? What do you think about my goals, or any suggestions on certain things? I don't know. We're going to see how it goes. As I said, I want to make some changes to what I'm actually reading and making sure most of it is going to be coming off my shelf. We'll see how it goes. So anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.